Hi, you've tuned in to The Right Point of View, where we discuss health, wellness, love, and all things in between. I am your wellness coach and host, Mishandi Wright-Brown. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know where you find yourself while you're listening to this episode, but we are recording on Valentine's Day. So everywhere we look, it is all about Valentine's Day. And this is episode 2 of our virtual retreat, Table for One. And if you are just tuning in and you don't know, Table for One was created to focus on self-love and self-care. You know, not get so caught up in all of the commercialization and expectations surrounding Valentine's Day. So thank you for joining episode 2 of our 5-episode series of Table for One. Well, I am excited to bring to you tonight, for tonight's episode, a wonderful, wonderful speaker. You guys are going to get so many juicy nuggets from her. She is amazing. I follow her on social media. I know her in real life, so I know that this is everything that she says is what she believes and what she practices. And I decided to have her on because I knew she would be able to leave us with something that would help us continue on our journey to self-love and self-care and finding a healthy, happy love. And you will find out why I say that in just a few minutes. But I am about to introduce to you this wonderful lady, amazing lady, Jill Bulluck. She is the founder of the Detour Movement Incorporated, which is a faith-based organization. She's also the founder of the Dating Prep School and Healthy Happy Love Company, which reaches over 10,000 young women in 22 states across the United States. She has been nominated and selected for the Power of She Award and recognized 2 years in a row for her notable participation with the Black Women in Business and Entrepreneurship. She is an Amazon best-selling author for her book, The Biggest Lies Women Believe About Men, Dating, and Themselves. She has been featured in Essence Magazine, Brevity, Sparefoot Blog, and on Bright Radio, WBGR Network, and 760 The Gospel Radio Show. She is known as a young singles dating coach who prepares and positions young professional single women who have been able to get all of the pieces of the puzzle of their life together, except in the area of dating and relationships. As a result of working with Jill, women break free from their toxic relationships and ignite their life by standing and speaking boldly in their truth to become the boss of their life by being authentic, courageous, and non-negotiable about the life and love they desire. She is the co-hostess of the annual Women of Impact Conference that gathers 100 women each year. The next conference, you guys, she'll tell you more about it, is August the 2nd and the 3rd this year. So without further ado, I am going to present to you Jill Bulluck. Jill, hi.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be here today and so honored that you asked me to speak on this hot topic in Table for One, which I love that theme. I love that topic. And everybody that's under the sound of our voice right now, I just want you to embrace that. That is a beautiful place to be, to have a table prepared for one, because the one is a whole number.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Well, I couldn't do it with that. I mean, when I thought about this, you know, I said before that I looked around on social media and in my life and thought about people who I believed could communicate what it was that I was hoping the vision for Table for One to be, and could communicate it not only effectively, but I know to be living that life, you know, because, with everything that we see on social media is not necessarily true. But what I like and what I love about you is that I know that you believe that. I know that what you are teaching, you practice what you preach, and I know that you have a beautiful, healthy relationship and that you have a love for women succeeding and getting the things that they desire and that you believe that they're worth. So I'm so happy to be able to share you with my audience. So, okay, we're going to get right into it.
Thank you.
So, again, like I was saying, we're recording on Valentine's Day, and everywhere you look, it is Valentine's Day. You know, there are men scrambling last minute. I'm just coming from the supermarket, and there are men everywhere buying out of the supermarket, out of Giant.
Yes. Same thing I saw all day.
all day, and all of this mayhem and all of those things. And it's easy when you see those things to get lost in what the real reason for it all. Like it just seems so manufactured. And so I wanted to talk to you about what it is that you teach every day. How important self-love and self-care is. So, having said that, I'm just going to go ahead and get to the nitty-gritty. As a single woman, you're not single now, but have been before. We have this non-negotiable list of things that we want in a mate, right? And one of those things is he needs to be out shopping on Valentine's Day getting us a gift, right? We always have these things that we want from a man. Now, I believe we don't really look at ourselves that much in what we offer. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that? I
think you're so right that a lot of times we have this laundry list of standards, pretty much as expectations. And the crazy thing is, even beyond the ones that's written, there's unwritten and even some unknown to you expectations that you bring to the table. And like you're saying, a lot of times we ourselves, we wouldn't even date ourselves. I know an author wrote a book about that. Like, would you date you? And the truth of the matter is, no, because when you have all those things on the list, a lot of times you look at all these amazing things we say this person needs to be, you have to ask yourself, are you those things? And if you're not, then there's some work that needs to be done and some focus. And too often, even on Valentine's Day, Mashani, we talked about this whole thing of everybody's running around and getting flowers. Really, even as a married woman, today I took the day off, and it had nothing to do with my husband. It was all about what I needed. I don't expect him to come here with anything or to do anything for me. Today I said, today is the day of love. What can I do to love on me and to make sure that I'm good? So that's even when it comes to whether it's Valentine's Day or having a list, Valentine's Day or the other 364 days of the year, you need to look at that list and say, what on this list do I need to be becoming right now, and how can I become that thing?
That is good. I hope you guys heard that. The fact that you love yourself enough that you are not only not putting expectations that may be unreasonable even onto your husband, but you are giving yourself the time that you need for you on a day of love. Like, that's amazing. That's what I knew you were the right person for this. That's the whole reason for this. That's the whole point, because we do miss that. And so we'll get back to that, because we miss out, I believe, and you tell me what you feel. I believe we miss out on so much wonderful time and space with ourselves, trying to fill it prematurely with someone else, right? We're not even ready. Just like you said, we're not even ready. So what would you say to the? I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say I had a conversation with someone earlier, and they were just sharing about their desire to be in a relationship and how they had a relationship that pretty much just went all south after many years of being in their relationship. But and she desires another relationship, and I know that sooner than later. But in that whole conversation, all I could see is that her cup was empty, and she wanted to be in a relationship, which is going to require you to pour out, right? So, in that moment, I was like, how can you pour out if your cup is empty? And even going back to me today, how can I even serve my husband today if I knew already I was already operating at a minimum level, right? I've been going hard, working, doing this, doing that. As women particularly, we have so many hats that we're wearing, and sometimes our cup can get low. So we have to spend that time to refuel and say, what it is do I need to pour into myself to make sure that my cup is full? And you probably have heard this metaphor before, but if you did, it's okay. I'm going to tell you again, because repetition is the mother, father, sister, brother of learning. So when your cup is full, then and only then can you be in a position to pour or to give to somebody else. But if your cup is half full or fourth fill or deficient, or even if you're already going dry and you're negative and you're trying to pour to somebody else, that means you're giving your soul, you're giving, it's almost like taking away from your flesh, because you don't have anything in your spirit to give. So we just want to be very, be particular about how we're showing up and how we're giving. But I don't want to get too far off the topic. I want to stay the course in terms of, hey, how can we stick to how do you know the list, like focusing on the list and knowing what you can become in that list. But what I would say in this moment is look at the list and say, what do I need to become? Where do I need to fill my cup? If I want him to make six figures, if I want him to be all in with God, like, are you that? Because you don't attract, and this is a tweetable right here, you do not attract what you want. You attract who you are. So whatever you are, you attract. And in your past, if you find yourself attracting people that you're like, why is this person even approaching me? Why this person is even coming to me? Why this person is even stepping to me? Then that means there's some aura, there's something about your spirit, there's something about your being that is giving this thing off, that is attracting those people. And especially if you're going more than a hello or a greet with this person. If you find yourself dating, going out in conversation with people, and you're realizing that this is not people you want to deal with, there's something about you that you need to detox. We always talk about releasing friends and letting everybody else go. No. There may be some internal things that we need to deal with. And let me tell you this, Mashani, that was one of the greatest breakthroughs I got, thankfully, before I got married, was realizing that sometimes in my relationship with my husband particularly, there was conflict that was going on, but it wasn't a conflict with him. It was an inter-conflict with me. And if I had showed up in that space and energy trying to bring him a problem that he did not create, that he had no participation in, and trying to help him or make him or force him be part of this problem and trying to resolve this problem, he can't. And oftentimes we go to other people with our problems trying to get them to fix it. But if we haven't made sure that we are that whole, complete person by pouring into ourselves, with loving thyself for real, which means taking care of ourselves, mind, body, soul, and spirit, then we're not going to be in a position to do that, to love somebody else or to give to somebody else.
Yes. I mean, first of all, you got me at the tweetable. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are.
Yes.
Oh, man, that is a mouthful, because we, again, that going back to that list, we always, and a part of it comes from we're goal-oriented, right? We have vision boards and vision board parties, and we believe in manifesting things and speak those things that are not as though they were. But I believe we might have taken some of that out of proportion, because we've come up with these lists of things that, like you said, we're not even those things ourselves. Someone, and not saying money is everything, but you want a guy who makes six figures and you work at McDonald's, have you even considered his list, or you want him to be emotionally sound, yet you're all over the place, so that stuck out with me, and you did not get off the topic. That was head on. That was like definitely needed. That's something that we need to hear. So this is your whole area. So here you are, and you have a group of women. You don't know who we're reaching out to right now, and there may be a lady who has these standards because she knows her worth, right? She's college educated. She's six figures. She's beautiful, takes care of herself, but she still finds herself single, and she finds herself in the position where she's asking God, why me? Why is this lady who's not as classy as I am, or not as beautiful as I am, or not making as much money as I am, how does she find herself in a relationship and I don't? What are your thoughts on that, and what would you say to that lady? Because I know she exists. At one point I was her, so I know she exists. What would you say to her?
That's a good question. I'm going to hold that question because I want to go back to something you just said about prayer and kind of overly focus on that. I want to go there real quick, and I'm going to circle right back to come to that question. I'm not going to forget that question. But what I want to say, because you mentioned sometimes we almost, I don't want to say idolize this whole thing, but we pray and say, oh, God, let your will be done, and the vision boards and all of that. What I had to share, even like I said today, I was sharing with someone, is especially for all the believers that's listening, sometimes we put everything into, okay, I'm going to pray about it, God's going to manifest this, and we just hoping and praying. Well, I do believe prayer is a strategy, but I do believe that you pray as if it all depends on God, but you work as if it all depends on you. And so even if you are, going back to your question, Mashandi, that six-figure, high-value mate, and you're finding yourself not attracting the love that you want, I would say there is some additional work that needs to be done to prepare you on your journey. Think about it. Tell me how many classes, ask yourself, how many classes have you taken to help you to understand how to manage your emotions? How many classes have you taken to help you learn how to engage socially with people in a healthier way? And then I want you to survey how many healthy marriages have you seen in your lifetime? And I'm not talking about, Joe Smo and Lisa, whoever, have a healthy marriage and you've seen it from afar. Up close and personal, day in and day out, where you have really been able to observe a healthy, happy married couple and see the dynamics of that communication, see the dynamics of that emotional support, see that dynamic of them having that freedom to, go off and do what they got to do and then come back together and reconnect. A lot of times, the truth of the matter is, most people haven't seen it. Most people haven't seen it. I can say my parents were married all my life. I didn't see it, right? I didn't see it. My parents had a very non-traditional marriage in a sense, right? So when you think of that, if you say, I'm trying to create something I've never seen, I'm trying to create something I've never experienced, it's hard. Heck, it can be hard when you've seen it. So there is a formula, there is a way, and I feel like even more so, minorities, even more so than our other counterparts, seems to struggle even more in the area of relationships because there is so many broken homes where people coming from broken homes, and you have to consider that. Did you grow up with your father? Did you grow up with your mother? And even, me, I grew up in a two-parent household, me and all three of my sisters, and that still doesn't exclude us. So even if you were that, we were blessed to have two parents in the home, that does not exclude you. So what I'm saying to that six-figure, high-value woman or man at this point is not about what you have on the outside. It's not about all of the accomplishments you have been able to check off, and I don't want to minimize it because I love working with people like that. I'm going to tell you, Mashani, what I find to be true, people that are the high value, whether that's making 50, 60, 75, 85,000, 100,000, are grinding and working hard, you have something really special about you because you're willing to put in the work. That's what you have. I can tell you when I talk to people who make less than $30,000 and $40,000, sometimes I find that they don't seem to be as willing, and this is not me necessarily discriminating. I'm just saying there is a correlation between what you're producing oftentimes and what you're getting. So what I'm saying is the person that has been doing this the whole time, doing the six figures, you just need to revert your energy. We need to shift away from putting all that energy towards work, goal, accomplishment, degrees, and now let's shift that energy, one, towards self-love and maximizing our femininity as a woman, and then maximizing your being masculine and all that you are. And also, we have to put that energy in. How do I develop myself socially? How do I develop myself emotionally? How do I have and foster healthy relationships? How do I fill my cup daily to make sure that I have everything I need? And so when I show up in the relationship with my laundry list, which is okay, I believe you should have a list. Let me make no mistake about it. However, you've already done all the work to say, I'm validated and I'm in the right space. I have the right to have this list because I am the list. Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Become the list. Okay?
Yes. I love that. That is good. Become the list. That is, that's where I think I was going with that because, oftentimes, and again, this is nothing against anybody's list or anyone's accomplishments, but sometimes we let our accomplishments override our need to do the work when it comes to cultivating relationships, like, even not just romantic relationships, but any, because we feel like we've arrived and we don't have to do that much work and we're the catch. But we never stop to think that the other person is the catch too. And what are they getting? What are we offering? And just, I wanted to challenge, and I knew you could do that for me, just to challenge us to consider ourselves when we are considering a mate, that the first person we should consider when we're considering a mate is ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
That's where I'm going. We just don't. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, it's not you can have the list, but just like Jill said, you have to become the list. You have to make sure that you are bringing more to the table than just your appetite. You got to bring something else. So that's really good. All right. So
let me say this before you go to the next thing. Yes. Let me go here, Ms. Shani, before you go to the next thing. I also want to just point out to make sure you see this. If you haven't realized by now, I tend to be a teacher, so I want to make sure you understand. When it comes to all the great accomplishments, and I think they're great. They're great, and they're valued, and kudos for you for that. But you got to realize they're all external things. And what we're talking about are all internal things.
Yes.
So in this season, it's time for you to, like I said, switch that. So we're going to switch. We got the external things, but now let's work on the internal and see what's going on. Because what I'm realizing is that more than you would believe is a lot of people are just disrupted in their spirit, disrupted in their soul, because your soul is your mind, your soul is your will, your soul is your emotion. And a lot of times people are disrupted because the reason, if you're not able to foster a healthy relationship, the reason you are not able to foster a healthy relationship is because there's some disruption going on in your soul. And a lot of times we try to put a mat over it and try to act like the fact that our dad wasn't there didn't matter, or the fact that we were molested didn't matter. Or we try to pretend and we try to mask and we try to act as if it's okay. I believe it was Pastor Torrey Roberts who said, it's okay sometimes to not be okay. It's okay.
Yes.
This week I was not okay. Listen, I was tired. I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm exhausted. I'm getting to E, right? I don't like to get to E. I'm like, I need to rejuvenate. I need to reset. I was part of team too much, so I had to kind of bring it in. I wasn't okay. But I took off, and I said, let me rest my mind. Let me rest my spirit. Let me rest my soul. Let me rest my body. I need to take a step back so I can be okay.
That is so important. You said so many things. I'm like, oh, man, which way do I go? You said so many things. But that, being not where I am now, because I'm ever evolving, ever learning. But before I was aware that I built this external shell, I painted this picture, and on the inside I was empty. I thought those things would make me happy. So the acquisition of the six figures and the degree and the healthy children and being able to buy what I want and do what I want. We believe sometimes that that's enough, and just like you said, all those things are external. And then one day you look up and you realize, yep, I got all that stuff, but on the inside, I'm still longing for something. And the whole point of this, everybody listening to us, is that when you get to that point, if you're not there yet, I hope it comes soon so that you can enjoy the best days of your life. But if you're already there, I get it, because at some point you stop and think, now what? And what we're trying to do, what Jill does as a coach and what I do, is trying to help you when now you're at the now what, you're at the crossroads, at the fork at the end in the road, and you're like, now what? Now it's time to take care of you. Now it's time to listen to your body. Now it's time to listen to your spirit and learn that no is an absolute complete sentence, and that yes is okay too, that if you feel yes, you don't have to explain why, yes, and that's it. Just being able to take a day off when you need the time and not make Valentine's Day about another person or what you receive. Just like Jill said, just finding that balance, finding that self-love, because I know it to be true. I see it with her. I believe it with me, and the other speakers you guys will hear in the upcoming days, that once you get that self-love thing down, everything else is easy. You will, and I'm sure Jill's about to elaborate on that, you will attract the love that you want, because you have fallen so much in love with yourself, right? So, okay, so Jill, I do want you to tell I want you to go this one story. So the story of you finding yourself and loving yourself before your husband came along. So can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It really came, and it was phases for me, but the most pivotal time I remembered was when I had thought I had made some strides, which I had made some strides, but then I got into a relationship with this guy, and I had already made a commitment to God that I was not going to engage physically with this guy. However, out of my desire I was so afraid of losing him, I thought that's what I had to do. according to Dr. Steve Harvey. That's what I had to do. So I was thinking that's what I did. And I would say this, too, because I really like Steve Harvey, and actually I will be on his show one day. If you know him, let me know. You can make the connection. But I think a lot of times his 90-day I believe a lot of times his 90-day advice is taken out of context. And I believe what his intent was, I'm going on a tangent, but I'll come back. His intent was for us to say, as women, if you don't have a standard, get one. Like, if you're just sleeping with anybody willy-nilly, can we at least extend that time to 90 days? That was the intent, and it wasn't intended for the celibate or abstinent person to say, oh, I have to give it up in 9 days. I don't believe. Although he did kind of mention he felt like men have to have that. Yeah, but it's not. Men can work it out. So anyway, I was kind of misinterpreting and misapplying that to my life. So I ended up doing this, getting the physical relations guy. The relationship ended promptly after. The sex was horrible. And so I just was like, oh, my God, like all for naught. Like nothing, no good thing. God said no good thing come from sin. No good thing came from it. Nothing. So no good thing came from it. And that was really when I got to my breaking point. This was the first time I ever had talked to my mom, and I was crying and sharing with her how heartbroken I was, and the situation didn't work out. And this is how you bounce back like a boss should. So I was crying with mom, and then I decided. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a shift. Rather than sitting here boohooing, crying, and sometimes you need to let that out because it's hurt, disappointment. I get it. Mm-hmm. But what I did was I made a declaration that I would stop waiting for somebody to see me as good enough. I would stop waiting to be told. I would stop waiting for somebody to crown me. And I would choose. I would crown myself and realize that, listen, I am already worthy, and I'm going to choose. I'm not waiting for somebody to come around and say, oh, Jill, you're good enough. No, I know I'm good enough. I'm just trying to see how long it's going to take you to figure it out. And if you take too long, somebody else might going to beat you to the punch, and that's going to be your loss and not mine. See, we got to change the way we value and see ourselves. Sometimes we see ourselves as with a guy, he's the one getting the prize. No. That's like you're the one getting the prize when he gets you. You are the prize. Well, let me get back. Okay. So going back to how did I get over it? The way I did, I made a declaration that I was not going to no longer wait and be passive, but I was going to own, crown myself, know who I was, stand in my position, and operate in my queendom. And then I started to say, what do I want? Let me create the life I want to live. That's how I started. I started by creating the life I want to live. I went to Red Lobster. I would take a book, and I would order the animal feast, and I would eat there and read the book while I wait for my food to come. I would have the chocolate chip with ice cream. I would spend a lot of time with God. I fasted. I prayed. I sought the face of God, and it was genuine. Because at this point I realized, I'm like, listen, the world way is not working. Like, I give up. Yeah. I'm throwing in my hand. Listen, I'm done. And so I wanted to really do it God's way. So I said, listen, God, give me your spirit. I want to be full with your word. I really just seeked him. And that's how my journey began. And I learned how to be fully present. I learned how to honor my true feelings. I just started to really be me. See, one of the things, the biggest conflict I realized in relationships, a lot of times, because that fear of rejection is strong, it's heavy. Mm-hmm. That fear of abandonment is heavy. And because a lot of times we're carrying that, because all of us have been rejected in a relationship or otherwise, get rejection from a school or somewhere, we got rejected at least once in our life. And the more that happens, and the earlier that happens, and from the closer that happens to you in terms of the relatives, the harder you carry that fear of rejection and abandonment. And because of it, you live your life trying to please other people. You live your life trying to say, okay, this person wants me to do this, or I think this person wants me to do this, or I don't know how they would act if I did this. So we live sometimes in this container of a shell, and we don't even allow the true person to rise. So what I did, Shani, I said, well, the real Jill Bulluck, please stand up. Come out amongst them, my dear. And it was so crazy because I remember, and I believe there's people in the sound of my voice that can resonate with this, is I remember that when I was with my friends in high school and we were together, and we were some basketball girls and track girls and all that, I was so cool. Like, I was so cool and fun. I mean, we were so silly. It was just a bunch of fun. I mean, we all stopped eating beef one time because we didn't want to clog our arteries, and we made it all a big joke, and we started eating beef for like 5 years. I mean, I just think about how we used to joke and laugh and have so much fun. But that Jill Bulluck didn't go out on dates with guys because I was too afraid. I was too scared to say, if I act jokey and crazy, he's going to think I'm immature, right? He's going to think I'm not this or that. So that all that humor, all that goofiness, that's good real estate, honey. I was finding my best part of myself. So I stopped doing that. And it wasn't, honestly, my husband is the person that he definitely knows me the best. And he's the person, I was the first guy I was really just myself around. The first guy was really myself around. Wow, looks what happened. And I believe that's the case with most people. So be yourself, but you also have to be healed and whole. So you do have to go through some emotional development and growing up and some social development and growing up. What I like to say is a lot of times, Ms. Shandi, in life you're going to grow up physically, right? Unless you got some type of disability or some type of limitation, you're going to grow up. You come out of your mother's womb, and she gives you everything on that push for you to be everything that you need to be, really. So you come out of your mother's womb, and you grow up, and you go through the infancy and a toddler, and you become a young child, and then, you just go through life. You grow up physically. You don't even, all you got to do is eat and drink water.
Right.
If you do that, you're going to grow up. See, that's not the same thing. So your social development won't come that way. I mean, you get some basic social skills. Hi, how are you? Good, I'm fine. All this type of stuff. But that deep level of intimacy, that doesn't come through just growing up. That managing your own emotions, that doesn't come just because you grow up physically. Some of you, under the sound of my voice, even though you are 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60 years old, you are 60 years old physically and maybe even mentally, but emotionally, you may still be stuck at that 12-year-old girl who was taken advantage of. Or you may be that 14-year-old boy who was mishandled or abused by your stepdad. So sometimes we get stuck. Our emotional growth stunts, and we don't even know. We try to suppress it. Yes. I'm okay. And we're not okay.
Yes. Oh, that is so good. Again, guys, I told you, I knew she was going to bring it. So that's important that we, because we don't assess those things. It takes a certain level, just like you said, of maturity, or something happens in your life and you finally realize that the common denominator is you, and then you say, oh, okay, let me figure this thing out. When you've had 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5 ex-boyfriends, and they all say the same thing. They all have the exact same concern or complaint about you, and you find yourself year after year or date after date in the same position, and then you finally say, wow, something must be wrong with me. Well, I hope that this conversation, if you haven't gotten there, gets you to thinking that, because it's so important that we do assess what it is that's going on the inside. And maybe, we can't go back to being 12, but at least you can identify. What I say is, I tell this story about I was first molested when I was 4. And for a very long time, I was a 4-year-old grown woman. And I didn't realize what was happening until the things that I was desiring was mimicking that of my children, who were 4 and 5. It was, don't leave me. You say you're coming back, but are you really? And, like a 5-year-old believes in Santa Claus. Well, I believe the lies that the guys told me, no matter how crazy they sounded, because I was the 4 and 5-year-old little girl who wanted to believe in Santa, who was afraid of being left alone, who was afraid of the dark, and who wanted all holidays celebrated a certain way, just like a kid. And when I realized that was what was happening to me, I stopped. Now, I didn't say I figured it out, because there is no way you can figure it out right away. But I had to stop, and I had to assess what is wrong with me. When every relationship ended the same way, I had to stop and say, what was wrong with me? And as a result, I realized that I was in arrested development, and it took me to, and I know some of you've heard this story before, but it was when I turned 40 that there was a moment when I was looking in the mirror. I wasn't looking in the mirror. I was brushing my teeth, and I happened to look up, and I said, I love you. And then I didn't, I said it again, I love you. And then I was like, wow, I'm so proud of you. You wrote that book, and it's doing well, and you started this organization, and your children are doing well. You're a director of nursing. And I started listing all these things about myself, and then I began to weep. And when I began to weep, that's when I say the little girl started to grow up. It was in that moment that I became the woman I needed, and I coached this little girl. I had to find her first. I didn't know she existed. I thought she was grown. But once I identified her, I was able to begin to cultivate that relationship and pour those things into myself to help develop it so that I wouldn't stay stuck at 5. So I wouldn't have 5-year-old expectations. And so I wouldn't behave like a 5-year-old and have the emotional intelligence and the social acumen of a 5-year-old. So that when you said that hit home for me, so I know that that resonates with someone else, because we all can, I'm sure, at one point or another have realized, like, wow, is there something, maybe something is wrong with me. Not every relationship, let me say this first, not every relationship that ended was your fault or meant that something is wrong with you. But it doesn't hurt to just do like an internal, like a scan, and make sure that you were in the right place and that you are good, and continue to pour into yourself and work on you. So thank you so much for that. Well,
you're welcome.
I could keep this lady. I could keep her forever, all night. So I'm going to have her back on again to talk about some more things with you, because I think she's a wealth of information. So we're going to close here, and then we'll talk about a part 2. But I want to ask you, knowing the time frame that this is going to air, knowing it's Valentine's Day today, and knowing that tomorrow America has deemed it Single Awareness Day or Sad Day, what advice or what words would you like to leave our audience to encourage them, to inspire and empower them during this time?
Absolutely. Great question. The thing I'm going to tell you is going to be mind your mind. Watch what thoughts you allow to come in your mind. One thing my mom says, and this is not to throw no shade, no tea on anybody. I don't believe in that. But I just want you to be careful about, as you see things on the social media, as you see people having because you may be celebrating through the weekend, that one, you got to know that you only need to believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Everything that you see is not what it is. That's the first thing. And I'm not saying we're not hating on people. Some people do have a healthy marriage, and some people are having a good time, and but some people are also going through hell with their relationship, and then on this day now, it's like, oh, I got all this great stuff. So don't even attach any meaning to all of that. Don't even get caught up in that. Mind your mind, and watch what thoughts you allow to come in your mind. So guard it, and think on the things that's lovely. Think on the things that's pure. Think on the things that's good. And that's really what I want to encourage you to do. So keep the hope and know that everything is working. God is orchestrating everything to work out for your good and for your favor. The greatest defeat, the greatest enemy that you can do as a single person or just in life is to think that, to get in the place of hopelessness or get in the place that, oh, man, poor is me. We ain't got time for none of that. God is a promise keeper. He is a promise keeper. You need to download that song. I don't even know who sings it, but there's a song that talks about God is a promise keeper. You better know that he is. So my advice to you is don't attach meaning to everything you see. Don't try to say what that is and what they're experiencing. You just think on the things that's good and lovely. If you see something that somebody looks like they're an amazing couple, just let it be an inspiration and say, God, I know you got me. My time is coming, but this is my season, so I'm going to love on me like never before right now, because I am setting the standard to my future spouse on how they have to treat me and what I'm going to require as a minimum standard for them to even engage with me. But I'm going to first give that to myself because I'm not coming from a place of neediness, because the word says, thou we shall not want. I'm coming from the place of abundance, bringing it to the table and just sharing it with you. That's what I would say, Mashandi.
I love it. That's why you are the healthy, happy love coach. I love it. You guys, this has been amazing. I'm so glad I was able to share this beautiful, wonderful coach and my friend with you guys. I hope that you are, wherever you find yourself, that you feel and know that you are loved, that it is not contingent upon anything that is outside of you, that it's everything that you need and that you desire you can find within. So thank you guys so much. But before we go, Jill, I want two things. I want to let everybody know where they can find you on social media, because I'm sure somebody's might need your services. So how can we find you on social media?
On social media, I would encourage you to join me on my private Facebook group. It's Young Singles Dating for Marriage Prep School, or maybe Young Black Singles Dating for Marriage Prep School, just depending on when the name shifted. But so Young Singles Dating for Marriage Prep School, join that Facebook group. Right now we have about 500 members, so you'll see that group pop up. And definitely be a part of that, because we go live at 8:05 every Friday, and I do other lives and provide a lot of content. Is a place of learning. So that's what I would say. I'm Jill Bulluck, all over social media. I do not have an O in my last name. It's JILLBULLUCK. And I also have a free gift for everybody where you can take advantage of. We talked about the list. Okay, I talk about the list in my 5-day challenge. 5-day challenge is readyforlovechallenge.com, readyforlovechallenge.com, and you can start that challenge tonight and get your list and then do some self-reflection and just continue to be on your journey of preparation and go from there.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I'm going to post those links in the body of the podcast. So if you missed anything that Jill said, you'll be able to find her information there, because I want you to be able to connect with her and join her group. And she does do live, and she's very funny. So I think that, and she is a teacher. So I think that you will learn and grow and help you get the healthy, happy love that you desire. So, Jill, final thoughts. So I'm going to ask you, what is the best relationship advice you've ever had?
The best relationship advice I ever had was, we can't assess and judge people on how they treat us, but you assess and evaluate people on how they treat others.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Oh, okay, nice. Okay, awesome. And then my final question, I promise, is I'm going to say a statement, and I want you to fill in the blank with one word. Love is
gentle.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, guys, that's it. That's all we got right now. You guys be on the lookout. Again, follow Jill on social media. I'll put all of the links in the body of this podcast. And thank you so much for listening. As always, beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Have an amazing day.